Chapter 11 Broken Sword. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Lin Chen didn't wait for a while. The maid came hurriedly with a wooden box in her arms. Lin Chen took it and looked at it, nodded and said, "These are the pills. How many spirit stones are there in total?" "A total of 205 low-grade spirit stones. I will take 200 low-grade spirit stones, and the other 5 spirit stones will be given to you as a gift from our store. I just hope you will come to our store to buy pills in the future." Lin Chen thought about it and put the wooden box full of pills into the ring. He glanced at the pretty maid and nodded. "There is a long time to come, there will be opportunities." Lin Chen smiled faintly and turned to walk outside. The street was crowded with people. Lin Chen pondered for a moment and walked straight to the mission hall of the sect. The pills have been purchased. All I have to do is go to the mission hall of the sect to accept the mission, and then go out to complete the mission to earn contribution points. The market was very lively. Lin Chen walked around quickly. Just when he was about to leave the market, he suddenly stopped, because the little tripod in Lin Chen's mind suddenly vibrated just now. This is the edge of the market, but it is still very lively. Lin Chen stood there, narrowed his eyes, and glanced at a stall on his left. Lin Chen walked towards the stall, and the little tripod in his mind vibrated more and more, as if it was craving for something. After walking 2 steps, Lin Chen came to the stall. The stall only had one thing to sell, which was a broken sword. It looked quite old and about half a meter long. The upper half of the sword body of the broken sword had disappeared, leaving only the lower half of the sword body and the hilt. When he walked to the stall, Lin Chen immediately confirmed that it was the broken sword in front of him that made the little tripod in his mind vibrate constantly. This broken sword. Lin Chen had all kinds of thoughts in his mind, but he couldn't be sure. "This little brother, are you interested in this broken sword?" The stall owner was a middle-aged man in his 40s. He was taking a nap out of boredom at the moment. When he saw a customer coming to the door, he was immediately shocked and looked at Lin Chen with a smile. Lin Chen nodded slightly. "What is the origin of this broken sword?" "Hee, little brother, this broken sword has a great origin. This broken sword was finally found by one of my brothers from the ancient ruins. This is a weapon used by the ancient great power." "Ancient ruins?" Lin Chen was surprised. Ancient ruins are ancient relics left over from the ancient times. There are many dangers in them, but there are also endless opportunities. The middle-aged man in front of him has nothing to do with ancient ruins. Lin Chen squatted down and picked up the broken sword to examine it carefully. The broken sword looked very old, without a trace of rust. Lin Chen couldn't tell what material it was made of, and it felt extremely cold to the touch. He looked at it for a moment and didn't see anything strange, but it must be extraordinary to cause the small tripod to vibrate. "It looks like an antique." Lin Chen raised his head and asked, "How much is this broken sword?" "Little brother is straightforward. I like people like you. My sword is absolutely unique. If you miss this village, there will be no such shop. This sword is not expensive. It only costs 300 low-grade spirit stones." The middle-aged man laughed and said with a guilty conscience, "It is true that his brother got this broken sword from the ancient ruins, but he only picked it up on the periphery of the ancient ruins. It is something that no one wants. The middle-aged man has also studied this broken sword for a long time. Except that it looks a little old, there is nothing strange about it. So he decided to sell it, but the broken sword can only be seen but not used, and his asking price is relatively high, so he put it here for several days and couldn't sell it." After listening to the middle-aged man's words, Lin Chen sneered, "Do you think I'm a 3-year-old child? This broken sword is also worth 300 low-grade spirit stones. If there are no elders in my family who like antiques, I won't even take this kind of thing if it's given to me for free." As soon as he finished speaking, Lin Chen turned around and was about to leave. "Hey, little brother, wait a minute, the price is negotiable, don't leave yet." The middle-aged man was anxious when he saw this. He had put the broken sword here for 4 days. Finally, someone took a fancy to it. How could he miss it? Lin Chen stopped. He didn't really want to leave. He was determined to get the broken sword. The reason he did so was because he was short of money. If he still had 300 low-grade spirit stones, he would naturally buy it without hesitation. You say a number, hurry up, I don't have time to waste here with you. Lin Chen waved his hand impatiently. 250. The middle-aged man said embarrassedly. Lin Chen glared. Then 200, 100 is fine. The middle-aged man wanted to cry. Is it worth it for him to get this broken sword? He worked hard to get it out of the ancient ruins, but it turned out to be useless. Now he just wants to find a way to sell the broken sword. Many warriors around were attracted by the middle-aged man's shouting, and they all turned their heads to look over. When these warriors saw that it was the broken sword, they all sneered. I thought it was something else, but this broken sword is worth 300 low-grade spirit stones. Little brother, don't be fooled, the broken sword is worthless, no one is interested in it, he is fooling you. A kind warrior said. After hearing this, the middle-aged man became more anxious, fearing that Lin Chen would listen to those warriors and not buy his things. He quickly stuffed the broken sword into Lin Chen's arms, and said with an expression as if he had suffered a great loss, Little brother, don't listen to them, this broken sword is a treasure, and I think this broken sword is very predestined with you, so I will buy it for you for 50 low-grade spirit stones. Hearing this, Lin Chen smiled in his heart. But on the surface, he still said indifferently, okay, then 50 low-grade spirit stones. Chapter 12 Lingyun. You are listening at NovelFold.audio. Lin Chen waved his hand and was about to take out 50 low-grade spirit stones to give to the middle-aged man. Seeing this, the latter couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. The warriors around him saw that Lin Chen was really going to buy the broken sword, and they all cursed, prodigal son. Lin Chen ignored the warriors around him. After handing the spirit stones to the middle-aged man, he picked up the broken sword and turned to leave. However, a crisp female voice sounded, Wait, I want this broken sword, that the warriors around were all stunned. Another prodigal son? At this moment, a girl who looked 14 or 15 years old came over. She had a pretty face and a snow-white long dress. She had a temperament of being untainted by mud. As the girl came over, Lin Chen immediately felt a strong breath pressing down, and even the true qi in his body was slightly sluggish. Such a strong true qi, this girl is a Tiangang realm warrior. Lin Chen's eyes flashed with surprise. Judging from her age, she was about the same age as Lin Chen, but her cultivation was far better than Lin Chen. This girl is definitely a genius. The girl in the white dress walked up to Lin Chen and looked at him with her beautiful eyes. I want this broken sword. Please name a price. Name a price. Sorry, I like this broken sword very much and cannot sell it to you. Lin Chen shook his head and refused. Give it away. The girl frowned and said, You just bought this broken sword for 50 low-grade spirit stones, right? I will give you 200 low-grade spirit stones and give this sword to me. What do you think, that if it was something else, it would be fine for Lin Chen to give it away, and he could also make friends with a genius girl in the Tiangang realm, but this broken sword can cause the small tripod in his mind to vibrate, so it must be extraordinary. Lin Chen will take it back to study it, so how can he give it to others? Seeing that Lin Chen did not speak, the girl in the white dress said again, The price can be negotiated, how about adding 100? What? The crowd watching around exploded. No one expected that this girl would actually offer 300 low-grade spirit stones to buy this broken sword. This prodigal son in front of him can make a steady profit of 250 low-grade spirit stones with one move and one resale. With this kind of vision, who dares to say he is a prodigal son? The middle-aged man who sold the broken sword earlier was completely stunned, with his expression constantly changing. I don't know how much he regretted selling the broken sword. This girl is Lingyun who came out of the Tianji Sect's library. Although she is not very old, she has a good eye and can see that this broken sword is a real antique. For people who like to collect antiques, this broken sword is still quite valuable. Buy it and give it to her grandfather who likes to collect antiques. Lin Chen glanced at the girl and didn't quite understand why she wanted this broken sword so much. Could it be that she also saw the extraordinariness of this broken sword? This is unlikely. I discovered the extraordinariness of this broken sword with the help of the small tripod, and I can't be sure where it is extraordinary. Although the girl in front of me is a Tiangang realm warrior, she doesn't have such vision. Lin Chen thought carefully for a while and said, Miss, I like this broken sword very much. Let alone 300 low-grade spirit stones, even if it is 3,000 low-grade spirit stones, I will not sell it. 1,000 gold cannot buy a joy. 1,000 gold cannot buy a joy. Yun'er didn't quite understand what this meant, but she knew that it was probably impossible to buy this broken sword. 3,000 low-grade spirit stones, in a treasure shop specializing in selling antiques, is enough to buy a decent antique. Why buy a broken sword of unknown origin at this street stall? 3,000 low-grade spirit stones, you really dare to ask for a lot. In this case, I don't want this broken sword, you can keep it for yourself. Lingyun glanced at Lin Chen, a smile appeared on her face. From the looks of you, you should be an outer disciple of Tianji Sect. Yes. Lin Chen didn't know what the other party wanted to ask, so he could only answer honestly. You are an outer disciple, so have you ever known a person named Lin Chen? Lingyun was still thinking about Lin Chen mentioned by the elder guarding the pavilion. When she met an outer disciple, she asked casually. Lin Chen was stunned. This girl in white dress should be an inner disciple of Tianji Sect. She was a 15-year-old Tiangang realm disciple. Even among the inner disciples, she had a very high status. Why would she suddenly ask about an outer disciple? If she asked someone else, it would be fine, but the person this girl was concerned about was herself. Why does the other party know my name? It seems that she is quite interested in me. Lin Chen had several thoughts in his mind, but he still couldn't figure it out. However, he didn't want to cause trouble or waste time, so he could only play dumb. Sorry, I haven't heard of this name. That's right, there are so many outer disciples. It's too crazy to just find someone and expect to know that Lin Chen. Lingyun glanced at Lin Chen again and smiled. Remember, my name is Lingyun. We may have a chance to meet again in the future. After that, Lingyun turned around and disappeared in the crowd. Lin Chen watched the girl disappear, somewhat confused, but he still had many things to do, and time was running out, so he naturally wouldn't think about these fruitless things. Since the other party knew him, given the girl's status, she would find him sooner or later, and then he would know the whole story. Lingyun, I remember this name. She is not only a genius girl, but also a beauty. Lin Chen smiled and turned away. In front of the stall, there were only a group of warriors sighing and a distraught stall owner. Chapter 14. Did you complete all of this? You are listening at novelfull.audio. The monsters outside the Maoyan Mountains are mostly level 1 to 3, which are most suitable for the training of the body-refining realm warriors. Therefore, when Lin Chen kills monsters, he often encounters warriors who come here to train. Under normal circumstances, Lin Chen will try to avoid encountering them if he can. If he really can't avoid it, he can only show up, like picking the 1,000 flame flower just now. At that time, the 1,000 flame flower was right in front of the warriors. If Lin Chen didn't show up again, the 1,000 flame flower would be picked by the other party. So far, I have completed 15 of the 16 tasks, with a total value of 138 contribution points. The only pity is that the rhinoceros iron bull was not found, otherwise killing the rhinoceros iron bull would have added 10 contribution points. Lin Chen said to himself, if he really can't find it, Lin Chen can't do anything. With the 133 contribution points left by my predecessor, my total contribution points are now 271. I still need 229 to exchange for the 500 contribution points required to enter the Tianluo Mountain Secret Realm. It's almost 2 months before I enter the Tianluo Mountain Secret Realm. I should still have time to collect the remaining 229 contribution points. Lin Chen thought to himself. After making up his mind, he didn't waste any more time. He leaped and quickly headed towards the Tianji Sect. 3 days later, Tianji Sect, Mission Hall. when Lin Chen put all the collected mission materials on the counter, there was an uproar in the mission hall. The elder of the mission hall looked at Lin Chen in disbelief and said in shock, "Lin Chen, did you complete all these missions by yourself?" Lin Chen smiled calmly and said, "That's right." That the elder of the mission hall was even more shocked after getting Lin Chen's affirmation. If Lin Chen said that he completed them with others, he wouldn't be so out of control, but these 15 missions were all completed by one person, which made him feel incredible. The disciples around him looked at Lin Chen like a monster. Some disciples with higher cultivation levels saw Lin Chen's cultivation level at a glance and whispered, "This junior brother's cultivation level is only the early stage of the 5th level of the body refining realm, but he has completed the task of killing a 2nd-level intermediate monster beast. It's incredible, that a 2nd-level intermediate monster beast is equivalent to a warrior with the cultivation level of the late 5th level of the body refining realm. Killing one can be said to be lucky, but killing several can't be explained by luck, especially the 50-year-old Xianyan flower picked by Lin Chen, which is deep into the territory of the black-armored griffin." Lin Chen ignored the surprise of many disciples around him. After the elder of the mission hall recorded the tasks he completed and saw that there were 138 more contribution points in the nameplate, he began to choose tasks again. This time, Lin Chen chose 28 tasks. The total value is nearly 300 contribution points. After completing all of them, the 500 contribution points that Lin Chen urgently needs will be enough. The disciples around were dumbfounded as Lin Chen picked the tasks by himself. Even if there were 5 people in a team, they could not guarantee that they would be able to complete the tasks worth nearly 300 contribution points. After Lin Chen finished selecting the tasks, he hurriedly headed towards the Malian Mountains in the north. After Lin Chen had been gone for a long time, many disciples and elders in the mission hall just reacted inside. Others did 1 or 2 tasks at a time, but Lin Chen did dozens at a time. At the same time, in a courtyard outside the Tianji Sect, Li Chuan, who had recovered from his injuries, stood in front of a thin young man with an angry face. There were several disciples around him, and each of them had a cultivation level of more than the 6th level of the body refining realm. "Xiaochuan, are you saying that Lin Chen was unwilling to hand over the essence-nourishing liquid and injured you?" The thin young man carried a long sword on his back. He pondered for a moment and said to Li Chuan. Li Chuan nodded fiercely and said, "Yes, Brother Ma, that Lin Chen is really too ignorant. If he is not taught a lesson, he will really be ignorant of the depth of the world." Originally, Li Chuan heard that his elder brother Li Shan had returned from training, so he came here to find Li Shan, but he did not see Li Shan, but saw Ma Liang, a good friend of Li Shan. Ma Liang is an outer sect disciple, but his cultivation has reached the peak of the 7th level of the body refining realm. In terms of strength, he can be ranked in the top 10 in the outer sect. "So, you came here to find your brother to deal with Lin Chen?" Ma Liang glanced at Li Chuan and said lightly. Hearing this, Li Chuan's face suddenly turned red. He did have this idea, but now thinking about it, he couldn't help but feel ashamed. Brother Li Shan is an inner sect disciple, but he lowered his body to deal with an unknown outer sect disciple. I don't know how many people will laugh if it gets out. "Ma Liang, who did you say hurt my brother just now?" At this moment, a strong voice suddenly sounded, and then a burly young man strode in from the door. Seeing the newcomer, Li Chuan's face lit up and he said in surprise, "Brother." The burly young man was none other than Li Chuan's elder brother, Li Shan. Li Shan was in his early 20s and was a disciple of the inner sect of the Tianji Sect. He had reached the peak of the 9th level of the body refining realm and was only 1 step away from advancing to the Tiangang realm. However, it was not easy for a warrior in the body refining realm to break through and advance to the Tiangang realm. Li Shan had been stuck at the peak of the 9th level of the body refining realm for a year and a half and still had not been able to advance to the Tiangang realm. In order to break through, Li Shan had been doing sect tasks outside to earn contribution points and had just returned today. Chapter 15 Li Shan. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Brother Shan. Ma Liang nodded to Li Shan and said with a smile, "I just found out that Xiaochuan encountered some troubles when collecting the nourishing liquid in the outer gate." "So that's the case." Li Shan nodded without saying anything more. Ma Liang clasped his fists and said, "Brother Shan, I still have to go to the Malian Mountains, so I'll take my leave first. 2.5 months later, it was time to break into the Tianluo Mountain secret realm. Although Mal Yang's strength ranked in the top 10 in the outer gate, it was unclear whether he could break through the Tianluo Mountain secret realm and enter the inner gate. For this reason, he has been trying to improve his strength. Go ahead, be careful, and don't get hurt before breaking into Tianluo Mountain. Li Shan instructed. Thank you for the reminder, Brother Shan. Mal Yang thanked him respectfully, then turned and left. As soon as Mal Yang left, Li Chuan rushed to say, Brother, that guy named Lin Chen is too ignorant. You don't know how arrogant he was at that time. Not only did he hurt me, but he also robbed me of 300 low-grade spirit stones. He hurt you and robbed you of 300 low-grade spirit stones. Tell me in detail. Hearing this, Li Shan's face sank. Li Chuan is his own brother. Even if he did something wrong, he would not allow others to teach him a lesson. Brother, it's like this. Li Chuan told the whole story. After listening to Li Chuan's words, Li Shan pondered for a moment and said in a deep voice, according to your description, Lin Chen's talent is mediocre, and his cultivation is 2 levels lower than yours. Since he is not a genius, how can he beat you? When Li Chuan heard this, his face suddenly turned red. He said timidly, Brother, I didn't expect that Lin Chen would practice the 7-star chain sword to perfection. What? Li Shan's expression suddenly changed, and he said in disbelief, the 7-star chain sword is extremely difficult to practice. There are only a few people in the sect who can practice it successfully. Lin Chen, an outer disciple, can practice it successfully. The faces of the other disciples around also changed slightly, and they were surprised at Lin Chen's martial arts talent. Xiao Chuan, if he dares to hurt you, we will give him 10 times back. Now you take a few people to teach that kid a lesson. After understanding the situation, Li Shan said in a deep voice, Lin Chen practiced the 7-star chain sword to perfection, but it does not mean that he can let the matter of Lin Chen hurting Li Chuan go. Of course, he didn't plan to fight in person. In his eyes, Lin Chen was not worthy of being his opponent, either in terms of status or strength. Brother, I'll go right away. Li Chuan hated Lin Chen so much that he was beaten up by Lin Chen and lost 300 low-grade spirit stones. Now, when he heard that Li Shan wanted to avenge him, Li Chuan spoke without hesitation. Li Chuan led 5 6th-level warriors of the body refining realm out of the compound and hurried to Lin Chen's residence. However, when everyone arrived at Lin Chen's residence, they learned that Lin Chen had already gone out for training and was not in the compound at all. Li Chuan could only return to the compound unwillingly. He's not here. Don't worry, if Lin Chen hurts you, I will make you pay him back 10-fold or 100-fold. But, you are too disappointed in me. Your cultivation is higher than Lin Chen's, and you have 2 helpers, but you were beaten by him without any ability to fight back. Brother, I. Li Chuan stammered, his face full of unwillingness. No need to say, starting from tomorrow, you call 2 people to go to the Malian Mountains for training. When you come back from the Malian Mountains, Xiao Chuan, I hope to see a different you. Also, don't come to me recently, I'm going to retreat for a while. Li Shan waved his hand and interrupted Li Chuan. Brother, are you going to break through? After hearing Li Shan's words, Li Chuan immediately looked happy and said with surprise. Li Shan nodded and said, I was doing a mission in the Malian Mountain some time ago, and killed a level 3 top monster. My dantian loosened a little. At this point, Li Shan flipped his hand, took out a crystal stone, and said in a deep voice, you keep this stone. If you encounter danger, crush it. Yes, brother. Li Chuan took the crystal stone reluctantly. This crystal stone is called the communication stone. As the name suggests, it is used to communicate with others. The communication stone is made up of 2 pieces, the molecule and the mother. If any one of them is crushed, the other one will also be broken. The person who holds the communication stone can also get the news and go to the destination through the broken communication stone in his hand. Half a month later, the Malian Mountains, in a dense forest, Lin Chen walked quietly, thinking to himself, I have completed 10 of the 28 tasks, and there are still 18 to go. Continuously doing the sect tasks made Lin Chen extremely tired. In the past month, he had hardly had a good rest. In the Malian Mountains, he not only had to guard against monsters, but also had to be vigilant against other warriors. None of the warriors who trained here were merciful. Some people even came to the Malian Mountains to kill warriors and rob them of monster materials in order to quickly earn spirit stones. Fortunately, the hard work was not in vain. Lin Chen's total contribution value has now reached nearly 400. Just as Lin Chen was thinking, suddenly, a monster roared. Moo! A giant demon beast similar to a cow, 2 meters tall and nearly 4 meters long, appeared not far in front of Lin Chen. The demon beast had 2 sharp horns on its head, and its fur was dark and thick, like a piece of iron, extremely hard. It can be seen that the demon beast has extremely strong defense. Lin Chen took a look and his face suddenly showed joy. Level 2 high-level demon beast rhinoceros iron bull. You came just in time. There is a road to heaven but you don't take it, and there is no door to hell but you go there. Last time I looked for you for half a month and couldn't find you. Now I don't look for you and you appear. Chapter 16 Black-Scaled Python. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Last month, Lin Chen took on 16 tasks and completed 15 of them. Only the task of killing rhinoceros was not completed. It was not that Lin Chen was not rhinoceros' opponent at that time, but that he did not find rhinoceros. Cows cannot be killed. Now that they have met, Lin Chen will naturally not be polite. He used both feet to push hard, and his body suddenly flew into the air. At the same time, the stainless steel sword on Lin Chen's waist was pulled out with a clang. Moo! Seeing the enemy coming, the rhinoceros roared angrily. Its 2 huge lantern-like eyes stared at Lin Chen with a hint of sarcasm, as if taunting Lin Chen for overestimating his own abilities and hitting a rock with an egg. Rhinoceros is a second-level high-level monster, equivalent to a warrior at the early stage of the 6th level of the body refining realm. It has rough skin and thick flesh, and extremely strong defense. Among monsters of the same level, it almost walks sideways. In the past, rhinoceros had never encountered the attention of warriors beating it, but when was it not alive while those warriors died in a different place? Rhino Tenia roared, and instead of running away, he quickly rushed towards Lin Chen. Well done. I have never found a suitable test stone for my phantom sword. Since I encountered a second-level high-level monster today, I will use you to test my phantom sword. Lin Chen laughed loudly, and the stainless steel sword in his hand was danced quickly, and the magic sword was deployed in an instant. In an instant, sword shadows continued to appear in the sky, and they were so densely packed that they could not be counted. The first form of the phantom sword, 1,000 blades, can be transformed into 500 sword shadows if practiced to a small level. The shadow of the Tao sword has extraordinary power. Swish, 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 hundreds of sword shadows attacked Rhino Tenia from all directions, but these hundreds of sword shadows were all used to confuse the enemy, and only one could really attack. When Rhinoceros saw the sword shadows around him, confusion suddenly appeared in its eyes. However, it was obviously extremely confident in its own defense. Without stopping, Rhinoceros continued to rush towards Lin Chen quickly, but the next moment, a puff sound was heard, and a blood hole the size of a palm suddenly appeared on Rhinoceros' huge head. Blood flowed out like a column, which was so terrifying. Moo. Rhinoceros' 2 lantern-sized eyes were full of fear. It never imagined that the strong defense it had always been proud of would be so fragile in front of Lin Chen. After suffering such a huge injury to its head, Rhinoceros the cow couldn't bear it any longer and fell to the ground with a mournful cry and no breath at all. Glancing at the rhinoceros on the ground, Lin Chen calmly put away the stainless steel sword, then quickly cut off the rhinoceros skin, horns, etc., packed them in packages, and planned to sell them at the market. The sect's mission only requires collecting rhinoceros horns, and rhinoceros hides and claws can also be sold at the market in exchange for spiritual stones. Lin Chen glanced at the package behind him. At this moment, there were various large and small items in the package. If all the remains of various monster beasts were sold, their value would definitely be no less than 500 low-grade spiritual stones. After doing all this, Lin Chen turned around and was about to leave. However, suddenly a faint fragrance filled the air, attracting his attention. What a rich aura! Lin Chen was surprised. There was a rich aura secreting out of the Malian mountains. It was just a possibility. There was a spiritual grass here. Lin Chen's expression changed. He followed the scent in the air and walked around a bush. A majestic waterfall appeared in front of him. The waterfall was thousands of feet high, and the water flowed like pillars. There was an endless rumbling sound as the water hit it. Lin Chen just took a look at it, then narrowed his eyes and looked at a strange flower on the bank of the pool. It's 100-year-old dewgrass. Lin Chen was shocked. Dewgrass is the main medicinal material for refining many elixirs, but it is extremely rare. Centenary-year dewgrass is even rarer. The dewgrass in front of Lin Chen would be worth at least 100 low-grade spiritual stones if sold. Thinking of this, Lin Chen smiled lightly and was about to walk slowly over to pick it, but the next moment, pang! The water splashed, and a water column as thick as an arm shot out from the pool and swept towards Lin Chen. Lin Chen's expression changed, and he stepped forward without hesitation, using the Qingyun step to cross out, barely dodging the attack of the water column. At the same time, a huge python emerged from the pool with a puff sound, and looked at Lin Chen with cold and cruel eyes. This python was at least 50 meters long, and its whole body was covered with a layer of black scales. Under the sun, extremely sparkly, Lin Chen just glanced at the python and was immediately shocked. The second-level top-level monster black-scaled python. No wonder no one has picked the dewgrass here for so long. It turns out that it is protected by this black-scaled python. The second-level top-level monster is equivalent to a warrior with a peak cultivation level of the 6th level of the body refining realm. When an ordinary 6th level body refining realm warrior encounters it, there is only one way to die. Just when Lin Chen was surprised by the giant black-scaled python, the latter suddenly rolled up, and the huge snake tail swept towards Lin Chen fiercely. Suddenly, the wind roared and the water mist filled the air. If this blow hit, Lin Chen would not die. Also seriously injured. Seeking death. Lin Chen shouted sharply and immediately used Qingyun step. As his body moved, the sword in his hand also swung rapidly. 1,000 blades. The first move of the phantom sword was used again, and suddenly hundreds of sword shadows flashed continuously, all of them frantically swept towards the giant tail of the black-scaled python. Pang! The next moment, the sword shadow collided with the giant tail. However, what surprised him was that the 1,000-blade attack only pierced the giant tail's scales, barely breaking the defense. However, the black-scaled giant python was hit and suffered severe pain. He retracted his giant tail reflexively, saving Lin Chen from disaster. Seeing this situation, Lin Chen's heart trembled. This black-scaled python has such a strong defense. Chapter 17 Sword Power. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. With my current strength, I'm afraid I'm not a match for the black-scale python. Lin Chen quickly glanced around. He was not a reckless person. Since he was not a match for the black-scale python, he would temporarily avoid the sharp edge. Just when Lin Chen was looking for a way to retreat, the black-scale python swung its tail again to attack. Although Lin Chen's attack just now repelled the black-scale python, it also angered the latter. Lin Chen couldn't stand the black-scale python's general attack. When it got angry, its attack was more fierce, and Lin Chen was even less of a match. Wow! The giant tail swung wildly, creating a lot of water splashes, which was extremely gorgeous. Seeing this, Lin Chen's eyes were stern, and he performed the Qingyun step, and quickly retreated to the periphery. At the same time, he swung the fine steel sword in his hand, and the first style of the phantom sword, the 1,000 blades, was quickly struck. Lin Chen knew in his heart that it was impossible to kill the black-scale python with the attack power of the first style of the phantom sword, the 1,000 blades. However, after he performed the 1,000 blades, something unexpected happened. A violent sword energy suddenly burst out from the ring in Lin Chen's hand, and a sword cut a huge gap in the giant tail of the black-scaled giant python. The severe pain made the black-scaled giant python roar. Lin Chen was stunned. What a sharp sword energy! No, that's not sword energy, it's... Lin Chen's body shook, and he said in disbelief, it's sword energy. Sword energy is different from sword energy. Any warrior can cultivate sword energy, but to master sword energy requires extremely strong comprehension. More importantly, sword energy is the initial state of sword intent. If you can master sword energy, it means that you have a certain chance to comprehend sword intent. In the Tianling Continent, those who can master sword intent are all sword geniuses. In the entire Tianji Sect, no one has ever heard of anyone who can comprehend sword intent. Even in the Yannan region, there are only a handful of warriors who can comprehend sword intent. The injured black-scaled giant python roared violently, staring at Lin Chen closely, but did not dare to attack rashly. Lin Chen stood there in a daze. How could this sword energy suddenly appear? It seems to have burst out from his own ring. From the ring? Lin Chen raised his right hand suddenly and looked at the ring on his ring finger. The ring was obtained by Lin Chen from Li Chuan, and it was not precious. Without thinking too much, Lin Chen took out all the things in the ring. The things inside were only dozens of low-grade spirit stones, several sets of clothes, some elixirs and a broken sword. Broken sword, thought the broken sword still looked very ordinary, but when Lin Chen took out the broken sword, the small tripod in his mind suddenly vibrated again. A wisp of mist jumped out of the small tripod, passed through the meridians in Lin Chen's body, reached the palm of the sword, and finally poured into the broken sword. After a breath, the broken sword suddenly flew up, floating in the air, and the sword body kept shaking. Lin Chen could clearly feel that the broken sword contained sword power. The broken sword actually contains sword power. Lin Chen was surprised, and the surprise on his face could not be concealed. However, before Lin Chen could continue to rejoice, suddenly, the broken sword suddenly burst out several sword forces, and the violent sword forces swept around crazily. The black-scaled giant python roared, but could not stop the sword forces from hitting its body. After a moment, the huge body of the black-scaled giant python was cut into several pieces by the sword forces and died on the spot. Then, the sword forces surrounded Lin Chen. Seeing this, even though Lin Chen was calm, he couldn't help but get a little nervous. These sword forces, they won't attack me. That if these sword forces attack him, he will be turned into countless pieces of meat in a moment. Just after Lin Chen finished speaking, the sword forces around him suddenly rushed into his body as if someone was controlling him. Seeing this, Lin Chen couldn't help but shudder. The next moment, Lin Chen only felt his pores expand rapidly, and then there was a heart-wrenching pain. Ah! It hurts so much, that the intense pain made Lin Chen scream wildly. The pain was like countless thorny needles piercing his body, and it was constantly twisting, and then a handful of salt was sprinkled on it. At this moment, Lin Chen's body was bleeding a lot, his eyes were red, his hair was disheveled, and he lay on the ground and rolled constantly. This was just the pain brought by the body. Lin Chen's soul was also suffering from pain that ordinary people could not bear. Ha, ha. Kill, kill, kill. In Lin Chen's mind, there was only a sword, slaughtering thousands of troops and killing crazily. After bringing shock to Lin Chen's heart, it turned and began to tear Lin Chen's soul. Lin Chen could clearly see that it was a small black sword that was intact, slowly, cutting his soul bit by bit, as if to cut his soul into pieces, but every time the black sword cut the soul, Lin Chen also had a deeper understanding of the sword force, just like breaking through the shackles, and suddenly realized it in his heart. Ah! The next moment, unable to bear the excruciating pain, Lin Chen turned his head and fainted. If someone was here and saw the whole process of Lin Chen's integration of sword force, they would be shocked. Sword force merged into the body of a warrior, let alone seen, heard of, and there has never been any record of this in the entire Tianling Continent. Lin Chen knew that the black sword should be the sword soul of this broken sword. Chapter 18 Inner Alchemy. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. In the Tianling Continent, some powerful and spiritual weapons have their own souls, but it is not easy to make a spiritual sword have a sword soul. It takes at least 100 years to cultivate a spiritual sword, and it is impossible to cultivate a spiritual sword with a sword soul without 500 years. After an unknown period of time, Lin Chen woke up from his coma and quickly looked around, but saw a mess, as if two powerful warriors had just fought here. Lin Chen was stunned, and then he remembered what happened before, and couldn't help looking at his body. Fortunately, there is nothing wrong with my body. Lin Chen took a look and saw that there was no injury on his body. He couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief, but there was a lot of blood on his clothes. Obviously, what happened before was not an illusion. Lin Chen checked it, and the next moment, his eyes suddenly flickered. After a little hesitation, Lin Chen quickly closed his eyes and carefully checked his body. After a moment, he opened his eyes, and a strange look flashed on his face. 3 more sword powers are in my body. Lin Chen felt the 3 sword powers in his dantian and said to himself in surprise, are these sword powers the ones released by the broken sword before? Lin Chen knew clearly how powerful the sword power was. Even the second-level top-level monster black-scaled giant python was killed effortlessly by the sword power. No matter how much, it's a good thing that I master the sword power. Lin Chen shook his head with excitement. Sword power is the initial state of sword intent. I mastered the sword power, which means I have the possibility of understanding the sword intent. Sword intent is invisible and stateless. Only geniuses among geniuses can understand it. At this moment, Lin Chen can master the sword power. It is no exaggeration to call him a genius. Repressing the excitement in his heart, Lin Chen lowered his head and picked up the broken sword. He said to himself, I don't know what realm of warrior the owner of the broken sword was. Lin Chen took a deep breath and put the broken sword, spirit stone and elixir into the storage ring. As for those clothes, they were torn into pieces in the violent sword power. After doing all this, Lin Chen looked up at the corpse of the black-scaled giant python not far away. The herb had been cut off by the violent sword force before, and it was blown away without a trace, but Lin Chen didn't feel sorry for it. Compared with mastering the sword force, herb was nothing. As for the corpse of the black-scaled giant python. This black-scaled giant python was also cut into countless pieces by the violent sword force just now, and it is not worth much. Lin Chen shook his head slightly. The most valuable thing about the black-scaled giant python is its scales and sharp teeth, but those scales and sharp teeth have been cut off by the sword force, and none of them are intact, and they are worthless at all. Lin Chen had no choice but to turn around and leave, but at this moment, a black sphere suddenly attracted his attention. It was a black sphere the size of half a palm, emitting a faint aura, which looked extremely strange. Hey, it's actually the inner elixir. Lin Chen exclaimed, walked over quickly and picked up the black ball. After taking a closer look, Lin Chen burst into laughter. It is indeed the inner elixir of the black-scaled giant python. However, the inner elixir can only be found in monsters above level 3. This black-scaled giant python is only a top-level monster of level 2. I didn't expect it to have an inner elixir. The inner elixir of monsters is a good thing. It is the main material for refining precious elixirs. For example, the inner elixir of this black-scaled giant python, if converted into spirit stones, is no less than 500 low-grade spirit stones. Lin Chen was already very satisfied to be able to accidentally obtain the inner elixir of the black-scaled giant python. He didn't want too much. He turned around and jumped and disappeared on the spot. A few days later, in the dense forest, Lin Chen stood beside the corpse of a black-armored griffin. There was a big hole on the chest of the black-armored griffin, and the breath of sword energy was still faintly diffused from it. He glanced at the corpse and said to himself, the sword energy is indeed powerful. With the help of sword energy, I can complete the task much faster. Originally, with Lin Chen's current strength, it would be difficult to kill the flying black-armored griffin, but with the help of sword energy, he could kill the black-armored griffin with one sword. After killing this black-armored griffin, Lin Chen collected its sharp belly feathers and gained 6 contribution points. After cutting off the valuable parts of the black-armored griffin and putting them into the package, Lin Chen walked away from this place quickly. I'll go to the market first and deal with these monster remains. Otherwise, it's quite troublesome to carry such a big bag all day. After making up his mind, Lin Chen went straight to the market. However, not long after he walked, he suddenly stopped and looked at the 3 Tianji Sect disciples in front of him with narrowed eyes. The other party also looked at Lin Chen in astonishment. Ha! Lin Chen, the Malian mountains are so big, and we can still meet. It seems that God has destined you to be in my hands. Not far in front of Lin Chen, Li Chuan pointed at Lin Chen and laughed sinisterly. Originally, Li Chuan was asked by Li Shan to come to the Malian mountains for training, with the mentality of coming out for fun, but he never expected that he would meet Lin Chen in the Malian mountains. Chapter 19, Killing Intention. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. Boy, you are dead today. Li Chuan glared at Lin Chen fiercely. If he had met Lin Chen in the sect a month ago, Li Chuan would never have dared to say such a thing. This time, he was given such confidence. Behind him were 2 warriors at the late 6th level of the body refining realm, Qingming and Wang Peng. Li Shan arranged for the 2 of them to accompany Li Chuan to the Malian mountains for training. Originally, Li Shan wanted to teach Lin Chen a lesson, but he gave up because Lin Chen happened to be away from the sect. Now that they have met, the 2 naturally will not sit idly by. Xiaochuan, is he the Lin Chen you mentioned? At the early stage of the 5th level of body refining realm, I can't see it like this. Qingming glanced at Lin Chen. Early stage of the 5th level of the body refining realm? After hearing his words, Li Chuan was shocked. He remembered clearly that when Lin Chen injured him, he was still at the peak of the 4th level of the body refining realm. However, with the support of 2 warriors at the late 6th level of the body refining realm, he was not afraid. Could it be that Lin Chen could make some waves in front of 2 warriors at the 6th level of the body refining realm? Li Chuan nodded fiercely and said, he is Lin Chen, that's right. I know him even when he turned into ashes. Lin Chen glanced at Li Chuan, turned around and walked in the other direction without saying anything. Stop! Seeing Lin Chen about to leave, Li Chuan's face suddenly showed a ferocious look. Lin Chen, when you meet me today, do you still want to leave peacefully? Oh, seeing that things were getting worse, Lin Chen stopped and said calmly, what do you want? Ha! After listening to Lin Chen's words, Li Chuan laughed loudly and said gloomily, if you want to leave here, it's easy. Just hand over your belongings and cut off an arm. Otherwise, I will destroy your dantian and let you go. You become a complete loser. The most valuable thing about Lin Chen was the monster material in the package. If it were given to Li Chuan, let alone exchanged for spiritual stones, he would not be able to get any of the contribution points that Lin Chen longed for most. Li Chuan, you have such a strong tone. I also told you clearly, get out of my way now, I can pretend not to hear you. Lin Chen sneered, don't blame me for not reminding you, I can beat you once, will defeat you the second time. TSK, TSK. A look of disdain appeared on Qingming's face. Whether your head was kicked by a donkey, you don't even think about how much you weigh, how dare you talk nonsense here. Hearing Qingming's words, Li Chuan rolled his eyes and said solemnly, Brother Cheng, Brother Wang, as long as you help me capture Lin Chen, I am willing to give you 200 low-grade spiritual stones. We are all brothers, how can we have the nerve to ask for your spirit stone, Xiaochuan? Wang Peng, who had never spoken before, his eyes lit up when he heard this, and he said duplicitously. That's it. Li Chuan waved his hand and took out 200 low-grade spiritual stones and placed them on the ground. He couldn't wait to destroy Lin Chen with his own hands. Seeing Li Chuan actually take out 200 low-grade spiritual stones, Qingming and Wang Peng's eyes brightened even more. They looked at each other and could see the excitement in each other's eyes. Pie in the sky, with their cultivation and strength, wouldn't it be easy to deal with Lin Chen? And as long as they catch Lin Chen, each of them can get 100 low-grade spiritual stones. Is there anything that can come faster than this spiritual stone? Xiaochuan, please wait a moment, we will treat this kid to be submissive right away. Wang Peng chuckled, and with a thought, he put 100 low-grade spiritual stones on the ground into his ring. After Qingming put the spirit stone into the ring, he raised the big knife behind his back with a bang. As he walked towards Lin Chen, he said to Lin Chen in a conspiratorial manner, boy, don't blame us. Ruthless, you offended someone you shouldn't have offended. The two of them stopped 10 meters away from Lin Chen, looked at the latter with ferocious expressions, and each roared angrily. Breaking. Cut with one sword, that the two immediately displayed their respective martial arts skills and slashed at Lin Chen with their swords crazily. Two guys who don't know how to live or die. Lin Chen snorted coldly, and instantly pulled out the stainless steel sword from his back. At the same time, the first form of the phantom sword, Thousand Blades, was unleashed. In an instant, dense sword shadows continued to appear in the sky. It dazzles the eyes, bang bang. A dull sound sounded, but they saw the fine steel sword and the two swords intersecting in mid-air, and a burst of dazzling sparks burst out. Qingming and Wang Peng swayed and retreated back. At the same time, they looked at Lin Chen with horror in their eyes. This kid is so strong. What kind of swordsmanship is he doing? If I hadn't been careful just now, I might have been hit by his sword. The two of them were shocked and stopped where they were, no longer daring to attack Lin Chen recklessly. Li Chuan, who was not far away, was a little flustered. With his strength, he couldn't see the way. However, when he saw that Qingming and Wang Peng did not continue to attack, he immediately shouted anxiously from behind, "Brother Cheng, Brother Wang, you attack." Lin Chen is only at the early stage of the 5th level of body refining realm, why can't you do anything to him? The two laughed bitterly when they heard this, looked at each other, and attacked Lin Chen again. Breaking. Cut with one sword, that the two men displayed their martial arts skills again. This time, they chose to attack from different directions, and there was also a hint of murderous intent in them. It may not be that easy to capture Lin Chen, the only way is to injure him. It's just that Lin Chen has been in the Malian Mountains for more than a month, and he has killed not 100 but 80 monsters. He has long been trained to be extremely sensitive to murderous intent. As soon as the murderous intent in the martial arts of the two warriors was revealed, Lin Chen immediately felt it. It seems that you won't give up unless I teach you a lesson. Lin Chen's face turned cold, and murderous intent rose in his heart. Chapter 20, Instant Kill. You are listening at novelfull.audio. However, Lin Chen's cultivation was ultimately one level lower than the two of them, and even a fantasy sword would find it difficult to make up for the gap in cultivation. Relying on the phantom sword, Lin Chen could remain undefeated at best and was unable to defeat two warriors at all. The broadswords of Qingming and Wang Peng were close at hand, and they were about to hit Lin Chen in the next moment. However, at this moment, Lin Chen suddenly stepped away, and at the same time, the fine steel sword in his hand stabbed out quickly, and from the fine steel two violent sword energies shot out from the sword, striking at the two warriors crazily. Both of them had a look in their eyes, and a strong crisis emerged from the bottom of their hearts. However, the sword power came too fast, and it was too late for them to retreat. Ah! My leg! A howl like a killing pig suddenly sounded. The two figures fell to the ground at the same time, their faces pale and frightened. Of these two people, a blood hole appeared on Qingming's shoulder, and a blood hole appeared on Wang Peng's thigh. With one sword, two warriors at the early stage of the 6th level of the body refining realm were instantly killed. Li Chuan, who was standing behind him, screamed in horror. He couldn't believe it. He originally thought that two warriors at the early stage of the 6th level of the body refining realm were too exaggerated to deal with Lin Chen, but who knew that Lin Chen could kill two of them instantly with one sword? Causing the two of them to lose their combat effectiveness instantly, Li Chuan's legs softened and he almost collapsed to the ground. The power of the sword is indeed powerful. Lin Chen glanced at the two warriors on the ground, then walked to the two of them, and naturally stretched out his hand to take off the Na ring from their hands. Killing people and seizing treasures is a very important part. How could Lin Chen forget it? Lin Chen scanned the two rings with his mind. There were nearly 200 low-grade spiritual stones, 3 spirit essence pills, and 10 bottles of essence cultivation liquid inside. Qingming and Wang Peng never expected that not only did they fail to capture Lin Chen, but his property was taken away by Lin Chen. It was like stealing a chicken but losing a lot of rice. Seeing Lin Chen casually put away the 2 Na rings, the two of them suddenly became furious, spitting out a mouthful of blood, and their faces became even paler. Lin Chen, after putting away the 2 rings, stood up and walked towards Li Chuan step by step. Lin Chen, you, don't come over here. Li Chuan's expression became even more frightened, as if he was not facing a person, but a demon. Lin Chen sneered, now, do you still want to destroy my Dantian? Hearing this, Li Chuan's face suddenly turned the color of pig liver. Even 2 warriors at the early stage of the 6th level of the body refining realm were instantly killed by Lin Chen with a sword. He, a warrior at the middle stage of the 5th level of the body refining realm, went to deal with Lin Chen. That is asking for death. You, how can you let me go? Li Chuan shuddered and said with a frightened face. Hand over your Neji and cut off one of your arms. Lin Chen said calmly. This is impossible. As soon as Lin Chen said these words, Li Chuan immediately yelled, his pale face extremely angry. Letting him cut off his arm was more uncomfortable than killing him. The last time he was injured by Lin Chen, he lay in bed for nearly 3 weeks. He didn't want to try that kind of boring thing again. Li Chuan couldn't help but regretted asking Lin Chen for trouble, otherwise how could he be so threatened by Lin Chen now? Suddenly, Li Chuan's eyes lit up, and a crystal stone suddenly appeared in the hand behind his back, and then he pressed hard squeeze. The crystal stone turned into pieces in an instant. Lin Chen had no idea about all this. Brother told me that if I encounter trouble that I can't solve, I will crush the communication stone. I have crushed the communication stone now, and it will not take long for someone to come over. There was an undetectable flash in Li Chuan's eyes. After a moment of killing intent, he thought to himself, but now I have to waste time with Lin Chen, delaying time and waiting for that person to come. After thinking about it, Li Chuan raised his head, his expression still horrified, and he said in horror, Lin Chen, you can't do this. You have to know that my brother is an inner disciple of the Tianji Sect, and he is at the 9th level of the body refining realm. Xiuwei, if you dare to go against me, he will definitely not let you go. The reason why Li Chuan was able to do evil in the outer sect of Tianji Sect was because he had a brother from the inner sect. Lin Chen knew it in his heart, but he was not afraid. He said calmly, if he doesn't want to regret it, then let him do it. You. Li Chuan was furious. Lin Chen actually didn't even take his brother seriously. Lin Chen was too lazy to talk nonsense and was about to forcefully take off Li Chuan's Neji. However, at this moment, a figure suddenly rushed out from the bushes nearby. The visitor was a young man of about 20 years old, carrying a long sword on his back. When the young man saw the 2 warriors lying on the ground, his eyes swept over their wounds, and his eyes pierced. What a strong sword energy. Then, he looked up at Li Chuan and was slightly startled. Xiao Chuan, it's you. I thought it was some brother who crushed the communication stone. Li Chuan's face lit up when he saw the person coming. He quickly jumped away and ran to the young man's side, saying, Brother Ma, it's the communication stone I crushed. This kid is Lin Chen. He injured the 2 brothers. And threatened me to hand over the ring, otherwise my Dantian would be destroyed. Brother Ma, you must avenge me. This young man is none other than Ma Liang, a good friend of Li Chuan's eldest brother Li Shan and one of the top 10 masters of the outer sect. Is this kid Lin Chen? After listening to Li Chuan's words, Ma Liang looked at Lin Chen carefully and found that Lin Chen was only at the early stage of the 5th level of the body refining realm. This shocked Ma Liang even more. At the early stage of the 5th level of the body refining realm, can you release such a strong sword energy and injure 2 warriors at the 6th level of the body refining realm?